got a panel lined up, so we're just bringing them in now. And this is going to panel with actual live influencers, described in a loving way, I feel, as prima donnas before. I think that's fair. We have the wonderful Danielle Partis, who's the editor of InfluencerUpdate.biz, who's going to be chairing it. And then with her, we have Pat, Chief Pat, also a fan of Tribe Gaming. Hello, Pat. It's been a while. I remember.
How's it going?
It's good. It's good. I still fondly remember that night in Helsinki casino. Nothing more can be said, but otherwise, it's good. You're looking good. You're looking good. You've not put any weight in the lockdown, you swine. Okay. Who else have we got with us there? Who else is
Richard from InfluencerStuff. Hey everyone. Hey Chris.
InfluencerStuff. Hello. Good. Thanks to have you on board. You're an influencer marketing genius. That's a claim.
Hey, if it says it, I can't help it.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, you have to do that. So we are expecting one or possibly two others, but in that they're running a bit late. I think we just launch in and we'll add them as they come if they come. So I'm going to hand over to you, Danielle. Are you okay to launch in?
Yeah, we're all good here, Chris.
If you need me.
We're all good.
All right, onwards. Thank you for your time, gentlemen, and off we go. Let's end in style the day.
Lovely. Thank you, Chris. So yeah, welcome guys to the What Influences the Influencers panel, which is a wildly broad headline, but I'm sure we can find some things to dig into. So do you guys just want to start off by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about what you do? We'll start with Patrick.
Yeah, sure. So my background, first and foremost, is as a content creator around mobile games. I actually created the first dedicated mobile gaming channel back in 2012 for Clash of Clans when it had just released. Obviously hit a goldmine there with Clash of Clans exploding and mobile really exploding over the last 8 years. So to date, have posted over 2,500 videos, a few million followers across a bunch of different platforms. And really what I've been focusing on the last 3 years is Tribe Gaming. So I founded Tribe Gaming as a mobile gaming exclusive esports organization. We compete in a bunch of different mobile games, as well as we represent many of the biggest mobile gaming content creators in this space. I think for scale, our content creators, our YouTubers last month did over 100 million views around different mobile games. And we're super excited as mobile continues to grow to hopefully dominate the world. How's that?
Yes, quite the mic drop to start with. Thank you very much. Richard, could you give us a little bit of info on your background too?
Yeah, I haven't posted as many videos as Pat over here, but you know, I got my start in 2013 working for Fullscreen, and then slowly realized that I myself wanted to be a content creator, and jumped in with the Carp crew and found friends that, you know, slowly over time I realized that they needed assistance, you know, on the brand side and just managing things in general so that they could continue pumping out the content that we all, you know, love. And so InfluencerStuff came to be, and I really wanted to focus on the business side of the content creation rather than the creation itself. I just find it fascinating. Now I get to work with hundreds of creators and hundreds of different brands, and each individual campaign is different from the last. So I'm super excited.
Awesome. So, you know, the mobile space right now, it's especially in terms of esports, is just booming at the minute. It's incredible, and people weren't prepared to take it seriously, and now look at it. It's just an insane space.
It's going to only grow. It's only going to continue to grow
exactly.
there too, as technology improves and 5G and all of this other stuff. It's a very exciting time.
Yeah, the one, you know, the thing that I see is if you look 5 or 7 years ago with traditional sports or sort of regular esports as you know it with PC and console, they were fighting for validation from traditional sports. And people are like, what? You're getting paid this much money to play a video game? And now esports has entered more and more into mainstream culture. Same thing actually has been happening with mobile esports over the last, I'd say like 9 to 12 months. People are like, wait, you know, mobile games are serious. They're not just, you know, match 3 titles and whatever else. And now with, you know, many different games popping up all over the globe, both competitive and through content, I think now 4 of the 10 biggest games on YouTube are mobile games, many of those being tailored around esports. You know, we're sort of fighting through those same stigmas, which has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think when we started Pocket Gamer, well, I wasn't here when Pocket Gamer was founded, but we had that very same thing of mobile games. That's stupid. Who would play a game on their phone? But now here we are. So I'm going to start this really basic from a creative perspective first, directed mainly towards the content creators, but I guess you both dabble. What made you initially want to start up a YouTube channel?
You want to go first, Pat, there?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, pretty simple answer for me. I was procrastinating for an accounting exam at school, and I downloaded Clash of Clans. History from there, but yeah, I mean, I was the type of gamer that, I don't play a whole variety of games. I find 1 or 2 games a year, and I just play the absolute heck out of them. And I was scrolling my phone back in 2012 in the App Store, and somehow came across Clash of Clans as it had just been released in the strategy section. Started downloading it. Within 15 minutes, I texted all my friends and I said, guys, this game is amazing. It's going to be the next hit. We should all play and have a clan together. So started just like that, and just started posting videos because I thought it would be fun. I mean, I thought at the time that YouTube was sort of just cat videos. I didn't know that there was even a gaming section. So sort of just fell into this out of the passion for gaming, and it's been super fun to see where it's grown to today.
Mine was when I was working at Fullscreen. I played League of Legends for 7-8 hours a night, and so I was like, I have all this content, and it was a lot of fun, and I really wanted to build a list of videos with my friends, where our fun moments and our really cool stuff was captured, and from there it just kind of led to my channel growing from there, and getting me more introduced into this space, because working for Fullscreen and MCN is a lot different from speaking directly to the creators as a creator, and I find that is a much different situation. So, but yeah, mainly 8 hours of gameplay. I decided to do something with it. That's a lot of time.
Really is. Okay, awesome. So I think this might just be kind of focused on Pat as a question, but what drew you to sort of just taking your focus and keeping it entirely on mobile games, or predominantly on mobile games?
Yeah, great question. I mean, first of all, I've always just been such a fan of mobile. Even to date, I think, I've really only played one non-mobile game seriously over the last 8 years, because just the accessibility of mobile, always having it in my hands, and especially with the quality of games as they continue to increase, I haven't really found the need to play any other games. But, specifically for me, even when it comes to my channel, before Tribe Gaming in 2015, I had the opportunity to potentially invest and partner with a League of Legends team in the LCS in North America for esports. And I really looked into it. And as I sort of continued evaluating it, I said, listen, my brand is as one of these, I guess, premier mobile gamers. Wow. Put that on my gravestone, premier mobile gamer.
Premier,
and,
yes.
My fan base, as it is in mobile, if I enter into PC and console, people probably don't even care who I am or know anything about me. My brand doesn't mean anything there. It means a lot more to mobile, especially these endemic mobile fans who are super excited about the future of the platform. So, ended up passing on that opportunity. And over time, I've just felt that there's a power to, building a fan base around the mobile platform as it is. If, for example, for Tribe, like our tagline is the champions of mobile gaming, we know there's a really passionate subset of fans who only care about mobile and want to see mobile continue to succeed. And that's always just been, super attractive for me as someone who's been around from the early days of mobile gaming content creation.
Do you think that people find mobile gameplay as compelling to watch as PC gameplay? Because I guess it's not really as much of a spectacle for a lot of games, but people still seem to enjoy it anyway.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think especially we've seen a trend in the last 3 years, but even before that, if you think of when I started on YouTube, it was, maybe Clash of Clans. You had, I think, Angry Birds. The biggest channel before Clash of Clans was Angry Birds, who someone had a couple 10,000 subscribers. There maybe wasn't necessarily the level of depth as there is today, but now if we look at the East with China and Southeast Asia and India, I mean, some of the biggest esports properties in the entire world are based around mobile games, and mobile games finally have that fidelity and depth to them that maybe was missing, many moons ago. So super exciting. I think, the West is still a little bit behind when it comes to competitive content, although casual content is, as I mentioned, very, very popular on YouTube and otherwise. But, I think as mobile continues to blend into mainstream culture, and as games like obviously Wild Rift release, it's going to be exciting. By the way, if I don't get this arm back, I'm not going to play another mobile game ever again. So
Cool. Just thinking about that. Oh God, my brain. What do you do when, if you're keep covering the same game over and over again? What do you do to kind of keep things fresh and interesting if you're cranking out, like, I don't know, like daily content, and there's not as many updates to keep things rolling and going? Like, what can you do to keep the content interesting for people?
Yeah, and I'm sure Rich can touch on this as well with his background, but it's been really interesting over the last 8 years. When I started posting content on YouTube, I posted videos with no thumbnail, no edits, nothing. And at that point, I mean, I was that was maybe the biggest my channel had ever been. Like, just all of this really basic content, no production value, just me speaking into a mic, talking over Clash of Clans videos, no webcam even. And over the years, we've seen the competition, especially as YouTube, becomes the number one thing that every millennial wants to have as a career. The competition and the effort that you have to put into your content has increased 100-fold. So now, standard gameplay videos don't cut it anymore. You really need to be thinking creatively as far as what you're doing with your channel, because there's thousands of people trying to, basically post the same thing. So for me, my channel always thrived with in real life content, playing Clash of Clans while skydiving, with Brawl Stars, working with different influencers and celebrities on creative challenges. It is something nowadays where it's more competitive than ever on the ideation and on the production value side. And while that's been really exciting for a lot of creators, that's really scary, because if you're an old dog like me, you got to keep up with these young guns who are so excited.
Absolutely.
I agree with that. I was going to mention that I see this question here, and I really like it. Do you think content creators nowadays still have a romantic idea of the job? And I think that ties into what we're talking about here. Those creators that, as an old dog, you're trying to keep up with because their edits and everything are the ones that have a romantic idea of the job. For the most part, I feel like the people that are out there like, oh, well, I want to do this because it's the main job. It's something that everyone else wants to do. It's cool. It's hip. They can make it, but there's something about being involved in what you love to do that really creates that romantic idea that you're talking about there. And so these are the ones that are fueling the editing wars, like Pat is talking about. Like, I feel like the more time goes on, some of these young bucks, the third Pew is an example. He was a content creator, and he came up after Jack Films, and he loved Jack. And but his editing was just on point. And I think that as time goes on, the next generation of content creators will continue to improve that for sure. We're only going up from here. And I think the same thing can be said for mobile. Coming from a mobile side, or not me personally, but from the mobile side, when it comes to brands are even picking up on that more and more. And I think that what's important for not just mobile gamers but creators in general is creating that personality, like Pat's talking about. Go skydiving, go, if you like to garden, if you like, somehow incorporate your hobbies into your job, I don't know. That would be my take on it.
Yeah, you want to brand yourself as more than just a YouTuber. If
right, more than just the
YouTuber,
game.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because once that game dies, your channel sort of goes along with it. So being able to have a brand outside of just the scope of your game is super important. And I think since becoming like a content creator, obviously, with anything, things change over time. I still get excited every day. Just recently for my channel, for reference, with Brawl Stars continuing to skyrocket, honestly. Supercell's doing an amazing job there. My channel's seen growth that I haven't seen in 3 or 4 years. And as I wake up every morning, that is so exciting. Now, obviously, people have started peeling under the covers a little bit of what it's like to be a YouTuber. And, as far as especially a lot of the younger kids and teenagers as elsewhere have this quick rise to fame and then maybe a meteoric downfall, or even just lose 30% of their fan base. There can be issues there, but overall it's a dream job. I wouldn't change for anything else.
Perfect. So just to flick this onto its head a little bit and look at it from a marketing perspective, what do influencers look for when they're thinking about working with a brand?
A lot of different things. I've found that creators like when their audience can engage more with it. So I have a good example, so you look at someone like a restoration channel, so I recently had a restoration channel, and all they do is literally find old weapons and old Zippo lighters from the World War II and all these things, and they restore them. I had an opportunity to work with a gaming company that wanted to work with them, and all we did was find something. It was a zombie game, so obviously these guys found like an axe or something from the game that they could restore and then incorporate that into their ad. And I think that even Donkey, he has a phenomenal way about him of engaging his audience with that ad, making it seem like it's a part of the video, but really is that ad, So I think creativity is, and the ability to have it come off as natural is something creators are looking for. Long term, so the longevity of a contract. You know, if they typically charge $5,000, sometimes they'll say, all right, I'll do $2,000 a month, but I want it over the course of 6 months, because these longer partnerships are really where it's at. This means it's a true partnership. It isn't just like a one-off, hey, promote this game, or, you know, do this, you know. So I think they're looking for more engagement.
Definitely. Yeah. So any way that you can get, you know, giving creators freedom when it comes to like creatively, giving YouTubers creative freedom when it comes to, you know, the brief and approach and elsewhere, I think is super important. In general, the creators are going to know their audience best and how they're, I think even on the previous talk, was it Jodi who said that, you know, giving the creators freedom to know how to tap into their audience best is definitely ideal. So not having an overhanging brand that, you know, wants 7 sets of revisions or elsewhere, obviously staying true to what they've, you know, what you've decided on for a brief and elsewhere, but, you know, creativity and, you know, really building more in depth than just like a one-off, as Richard had talked about. How can I, if you look at examples with, you know, David Dobrik and what they've done with, what is that, SeatGeek, as far as like really integrating it into the content. And even for us, I think like our best case study is working with OnePlus, the handset manufacturer, across all of our Brawl Stars creators. You know, on a long-term partnership, we've been able to build OnePlus and Brawl Stars into the community, where, you know, there's even memes about OnePlus on Reddit due to the fact that, you know, all of our creators are so in depth and so in love with the product. Being able to reach that point where you've truly intertwined the brand with the community is amazing. And, you know, you have to work hand in hand with the brand to be able to get that done.
Perfect. And to flip that on its head again, what do brands look for in an influencer?
Sure. I think.
Go ahead. Yeah, you go.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think, well, first and foremost, whatever, you know, the KPI they've set out to be. So, you know, for game developers, obviously they're looking for installs, they're looking for retention, and whatever else. But I think also just, it all depends on who you work with. There's going to be a bunch of different things. Some brands are going to care less as far as, maybe they're not going to be as KPI focused, but they're going to want to really feel a good piece of content that they're excited about, and that they can use for maybe their own paid UA efforts when it comes to advertising. You know, we just worked with Monopoly Mobile on a campaign that was amazing, where we had some of our biggest creators play a game of Monopoly against each other and dress up with different costumes. I think I was Joe Exotic from Tiger King, and it turned into this super fun, memorable piece of content. And not only were the KPIs fun and elsewhere, but this piece can be cut into 15, 30, 60-second spots, which they can use for paid UA efforts and advertising elsewhere. And it also serves as a valuable piece of content for their audience. If you're a fan of Monopoly Mobile and you have this hilarious piece of content, which maybe you know some of these creators, this is going to be a value add for their already existing audience, which is super unique and rare. So those are the types of activations that I love.
I agree with.
Sorry, carry on.
Oh no, honestly, I was just going to agree everything he just said. But no, I really think that brands are also looking for creators that are interested in the product. Now, not every single time, but it just fits. If it fits better, the engagement is higher, the audience is more in tune, the creator sees it as a potential, continued effort. You know, so I think that the liking the product is important. I mean, if you don't drink coffee and you're promoting coffee, it comes off as like your audience is gonna be like, I thought you said you hated coffee, you know. So that could definitely happen. Not to say that, you know, they're not allowed to promote the coffee. It just works better, I think, and I think that's what the brands are truly looking for.
Do you think there's kind of a merit of influencers kind of looking to work with brands that are a little bit outside of what they do? For example, like you guys are primarily gaming, and if you worked with like a food company or some kind of shopping service or whatever, would that be, I guess you'd have to find a balance between it being authentic and not disingenuous, but also something that you would promote yourself?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think if you look at like David Dobrik with SeatGeek, is there a one-to-one with his audience? Not really, but they created it, and they created like, you know, content specific around their goals, and they made it something where, you know, his audience is passionate about it, and they know when he's giving cars away and elsewhere, it's by someone like SeatGeek. I think there's some really interesting connections when it comes to the mobile market, especially as we're looking at, you know, whether food delivery apps and elsewhere, where you can tap into that mobile focus as far as, you know, mobile gaming creators goes, that maybe other gamers can't necessarily tap into. So it's exciting there. But I think no matter honestly who the brand is, just being honest with each other, laying all the cards out on the table and figuring out, hey, how can we make this, how can we tell a story to our audience that makes sense and gets our fans excited? I think it'd be hard pressed so long as you don't have the right people in that room to find an awesome idea. But some obviously are much better fits than others.
Yep. I honestly, that's what I most enjoy about this industry and why I moved to this side of things is I like the ideation. I like coming up with the creative ideas that can connect gamers with lifestyle. I'm having a ball and sending out RFPs for like, you know, Uber Eats and all these other smaller companies. Like it makes sense. And you have to find that specific way that it, you know, that not line, you just that hook. You basically have to find that hook and then create that idea and make it engaging for these creators and let them have fun with this, you know, let them and their audience have fun because their audience is going to support them. I'm sure, Pat, you dealt with this back in the day, but, you know, I'm sure the first few sponsors you probably put on your channel were shunned. They're like, what is this? Like, why am I watching your stuff? You know, that since has stopped for the most part. And now it's like, how engaged can I get my audience? How much can I make my audience love this ad? And I think that's the way that if we continue, we're going to have a lot more brands opened up. And this is the Wild West, you know, so this hasn't been necessarily done before. You know, you had the traditional media, but with influencer marketing, the sky is the limit. I am fairly confident I could connect any brand with any creator in some form or some way and make it a successful campaign for both brand and creator. It's some good times.
I think especially now with I guess the pandemic and lots of companies forced to go digital, it really is a good time to, you know, as a brand connect with anybody and everyone that you can find, and brands that wouldn't usually hop into the space are considering it just because it's literally the only way that they're going to be able to reach new potential customers, you know, clients, etc.
Diversify your portfolio. I mean, I'm not saying that there's going to be a quarantine every year, but if you definitely need to increase your digital sales and your digital marketing to suffice, you know, so if you're a mom and pop shop, even, I think that there are ways that you can, you know, work with creators. And, you know, I'm not saying go out there and spend $20,000 if you're, you know, you only have one store, but you can find local creators, and there are tons of different ways to do it. You just have to think of them or find the people that have already thought of them, you know?
Yeah, we've seen on our end, probably since the pandemic's hit, you know, probably half the brands have taken a step back and sort of reevaluated what they're doing on the marketing front. And the other half of brands are like, heck yeah, this is the time for us to go in. Everyone's at home, everyone's gaming. You know, for example, like our content, you know, our reach has gone from, I think, you know, we haven't brought on any new creators, and it's gone from 67 million monthly views to 100 monthly million views. So people are consuming more and more content, especially as mobile continues to grow. So now more than ever, especially if you have a product that makes sense in this current environment, digital is an amazing play.
For sure. Just leading on from that, with all of these brands leaping into the space and trying something new, that there's going to be a lot of brands that necessarily haven't done this before, don't know how to approach it, etc. What are some of the big things that you wouldn't want a brand to do, like things that would completely put you off working with a brand based on their approach?
Yeah, I think like just sort of touching back on the previous point, putting the creator in a box when it comes to this, sending them a 3-page script as far as say these words and elsewhere. You know, we've had certain people, especially new to influencer marketing, who are extremely, you know, they want everything done exactly by the book of, I want you to read this script. I want to say this. You know, sometimes it can even come from a translated, you know, Google Translate as far as what you're saying. And it comes off so inauthentic that the creators obviously not going to be passionate about it. Their audience is going to see through it because our audiences more than ever are really smart when it comes to sponsored content and elsewhere, and they can pick it out in a second. Maybe in 2012 or 2013, you know, you could have gotten away with it, but now, you know, your audience can clearly see through that. So, you know, number one thing for me is probably not being given like, you know, creative freedom when it comes to working with the brand around their goals and their visions. You know, if you want to drive users around a particular update for your game, or you want to key in on these specific assets that are like, you know, key calling cards for your game, I'm totally down. I'm totally about that. But let's have a collaborative process, you know, based on my audience, which is going to be different than, you know, the other 100 influencers that you're working with. It's going to have to be different every time. So that's probably, you know, number one to me.
I'm gonna agree with that. That's my number one as well. Not putting people in a box, not having there's a difference between talking points and deliverables. Talking points are, hey, we want you to have creative freedom. Please pick like 3 to 5 of these and put them in there somewhere. You know, like we understand this is the general idea of what we want you to say. And deliverables are like 7 to 10. You have to say this, and then go ahead and throw in whatever you also think might fit. And that doesn't work. The audience is there to watch the creator, so we need to have the creator have that ability to add the talking points that they know will fit in best with their audience. So completely agree. Just creative control. And I'm not saying that the creators every single time should have complete creative control. Like Pat said, it's a back and forth. It's not necessarily in a negotiation, but that's kind of what it is. It's figuring out what works for both sides. And that is really important, that both sides flourish here, because that's how the industry is pushed ahead, is pushed forward.
Absolutely. So a lot of influencers, they kind of adjust the rates based on the kind of company that they're working for. So thinking about gaming influencers, if they're working with a big company like Riot or Blizzard, they will kind of present rates that will reflect what the company can pay them, but they will decrease them dramatically if they're working for an indie company, or sometimes they'll just work for free for an indie company if they like the product or the game that they're pitching. What would a company need to offer an influencer to kind of make that worth doing, I suppose?
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely gonna vary, as you said, depending on who the company is. I don't necessarily know if it's like, the creators out of the goodwill of their heart are gonna give, discounts to indie games versus the big megalords of developers of the world. They're gonna be, hoping to hit the checkbook hard. I think it's going to be different. Sometimes even just creators, especially for new and exciting games, even if they're by AAA developers, they're going to want to post around that title anyways, and potentially build an audience around that game. Where, I've been posting videos around Supercell games for years and years and years, and they're not paying me to post around their games. It's just that I love their games, and I'm able to build an audience that's sustainable on the platform. So I think it's going to be a different approach for each creator. Some things, it's going to depend on how much does the creator actually, like this game. What chance of sustainability is there for a game like this? Is this something where, hey, am I posting, let's say a match 3 game that's never going to be successful on YouTube? Or am I posting, let's say, Call of Duty Mobile before it launched, where, hey, this is an opportunity where I could potentially build my brand around this game. That's going to change the economics drastically, especially if someone like a Tencent is going to agree to help promote me in game, and all those other sort of in-kind offerings that they can sort of have. So in general, it's going to vary, especially with influencer and creator sizes as well. Potentially lower tier creators and smaller creators are going to be more interested in, sort of in-game currency offerings, promotion offerings, to where, maybe the economics actually end up being pretty nil when it comes to actual costs. Whereas for the larger creators, you're going to run into more flat fees and CPIs depending on which title you're hopping into.
I have a tiered approach with this, and I ask all my creators this. Tier 1 being, that is the company that you would just die to work with. You'd pay them to work with them. So I ask what their rate would be for that. Obviously, they don't necessarily pay the brand. Tier 2 is something that you see the value in. So like a Monster Energy or something like that you personally do not drink, but you could, like the same thing with the coffee, but you see that your audience loves Monster. What would be your rate for that? And then the tier 3 would be something like a fly-by-night mobile game or something like that. Like these are the guys that are coming in there. They're going to give you, a large sum, and you'll never hear from them again. And that's pretty high up there. Usually it looks like, if they were charging $2,500 for their favorite brand, you'd be looking at like 5 to 10 for a brand that they see the value in, and then tier 3 would probably be 15,000, and that also comes from a lot of those guys are usually wanting dedicated too, which, by the way, we need to focus, like dedicated, they do work here and there, but asking a creator to do a dedicated video on a game that they've never done, that's where that creative control comes in there. Sometimes you should if they come back, they're like, hey, I only do integrations typically, listen to them on that, like it doesn't have to be dedicated every time. So yeah,
definitely cool. That was some cool insight, because I think influencer marketing can quite often come with a hefty price tag, and there are companies out there who want to dive into it but might not necessarily have the budget. So if there's ways to navigate around that aren't insulting to an influencer and their work, then yeah, I think it's definitely something that you should consider. That's my portion wrapped up, but I do have some audience questions to quickly run through if you guys are cool with that.
Heck yeah, let's do it.
Yep. So we've got from an anonymous guy, all the tutorials about how to be as successful as an influencer talk about consistency and quality in content. But with the competition being so fierce, and now that you're managing other professionals, would you say that quality and consistency are enough?
No, I wouldn't say that that's enough. I think that back in the day, being consistent and having quality, at least in the mobile gaming landscape, could have done pretty well for you in the pre-2017 world, depending on the games that you're being a part of. But now that competition is so high and fierce, the number one thing you need to have is you need to have a niche for your content. So, you know, for me right now, I can post just more or less gameplays of me doing different mobile games and can have a substantial amount of viewership. But for anyone else, if you're posting at 0 subscribers or 500 subscribers, you know, people are probably going to watch one of the bigger creators versus your content if you're doing the same exact thing. The number one thing you need to do is find a niche for why people should care, and it should be different. So if I'm a mobile creator right now, I'm going to take a look at the mobile landscape for a game like Brawl Stars, for example. What type of content is being created right now, and what's the missing point? If I look at it and I see that, hey, right now no one's doing IRL style Brawl Stars content, or no one's doing collaboration type Brawl Stars content, I'm going to work with, you know, I'm going to put together a 64-person Brawl Stars tournament that's going to be casted and, you know, held, you know, somewhere else. Again, some like silly ideas like that, but finding a unique differentiator for you that makes you different than others is necessary to get that explosive growth. And then once you hit a certain point with your channel, you can post more of that maintaining style, consistent content and retain that audience. But to have growth, you have to be unique.
I would say, yeah, unique and specific niche or topic. You know, you could have the same gameplay as all of the other mobile creators, but if you have a topic, it comes off as a podcast, or, you know, just different ideas on how to do it. And I would also say to not necessarily focus, unless you are, you know, solely focused on YouTube and trying to make that income from that, and you're living off that income. Great. But until then, treat it as a hobby, like, because you'll get burnt out a lot quicker if you're focused on money. Like, money burns us all out. Like, am I going to make my bill? So on top of that, you know, now you have to create gameplay and content to provide a living for yourself. Like, I would just focus on the quality, upload as far as consistency. I have creators that are uploading once a month that are still very, very relevant, and every single video they do gets, you know, 500,000 views. But if they were to upload every day or every week, those views might go down. So they're working on that upload schedule that works for them. So don't work on an upload schedule that works for other people. Like, do you, and you'll find the people that are also, like, if you upload, I know this is a bad example, but well, not a bad example, but if you upload or you are a night person and you wake up at 8 p.m. and go to bed at 5 a.m. and you're like, I got to wait to upload at the right times. No, focus on your community building at that time. There are tons of streamers that stream to thousands and thousands of people every night. Because and once I've tried to tell them, like, hey, you probably should, you know, maybe you could skip to instead of starting at 8 p.m. start at 5 p.m. You know, trying these different things. They're like, nah, I'm good. And I find that their honesty is really their transparency is great, because they know what they're doing. They're building their community. You know, like, who are we to necessarily say that's not the right time? Like, it's working for them. You know, so.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a big stigma on that kind of thing, but you know, work at the time that suits you. It's fine. So we've got here, what is the best way to approach a YouTuber? Do you prefer to go via management/agencies?
You do have to go a lot of times through some management companies and agencies to reach certain creators. Email them. Hit them up on Twitter here and then. If you're a brand, the management would probably be the best bet as far as, you know, getting a hold of a large amount of creators, depending on how quickly you need to go. But if you're really looking for a curated list, develop that list and then reach out to them. And most likely they'll send you to the person that they want you to talk to. They'll be like, this is my manager. Chat with them. So yeah, reach out.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Is burnout still an issue for influencers? Taking time off seems impossibly hard to do if your livelihood depends on regular, consistent activity. How do you cope with that?
Yeah, I think burnout's definitely an issue. It's something that's more talked about now, I think, than potentially like 4 or 5 years ago. And as Richard alluded to, you know, I think back couple years ago, YouTube really rewarded you based on those daily uploads and activity. Whereas nowadays, you can actually have a once a week or a once a month cadence and find something that works for your channel. So it's something that people are talking a lot more about now. YouTubers are more prone to taking, breaks, and I think it's become less of that race than it was sort of in the past. But yeah, definitely something to keep mind of. For me, I've burned out before, especially playing. I played games like Clash of Clans and Clash Royales and posted videos for 3 straight years on my channel. That's almost 1,000 videos. So inevitably, there's going to be a point where maybe it's not as exciting as it has been, or there hasn't been an update for the game in a while. I think we're seeing this actually with a lot of Fortnite creators now, especially as your excitement for the game goes down and your viewership is going down from the big peak early on in the game. There can be that time. So, for creators, being cognizant of that and focusing on that is really, really important.
Agreed. Yeah. When I first started streaming, I was streaming for 12 to 18 hours a day, League of Legends. I have played 2 games of League of Legends in the past year and a half. Like, I was doing that for 3 years, it's a lot of work. And really the burnout comes from, for me personally, from the specific game. Like if I diversified and I did variety, at least even initially, I probably would still be playing League of Legends, but because I put in, 400, 500 hours within a 6-month period, yeah, you do quickly get burned out. I would say don't be afraid of burnout. Just acknowledge that, you need a mental break. Like, we're human beings, just be true with yourself and don't just keep going because others are going. Again, we have this, a lot of YouTubers tend to relate to other YouTubers, and that is good, but also you need to have a focus on yourself, focus on what you can do and what you can do well, and don't be discouraged if you ever have to take a break like that.
Awesome. So I'm going to wrap that one up there. So I think we've ran over it a little bit, but thank you guys so much for coming on and sharing your experiences, and enjoy the rest of your PGC.
Thanks,
right,
guys.
yes.
Thanks
Appreciate
so
it,
much
guys.
for joining us. Really appreciate it.
See
Hopefully see you
you in
again
the casino, Chris.
in a casino sometime soon. Yeah, no,
Welcome to
good,
the casino.
good work. Thank you very much,
Perfect.
both of you. Nice to meet you, Richard. And
Bye.
thanks, Danielle. Great job. Really appreciate that. Awesome.